Welcome all to the latest in a series of interviews which are put out by members of the Trowers owner-managed business group, where we are interviewing our owner-managed and family-owned business contacts and clients to explore what makes a successful entrepreneur and how they've grown a successful business. I'm delighted to be joined today by Julian Atkinson, Managing Director and previously majority owner of JC Atkinson Sons, which has recently been sold to Newable Capital. So Julian, welcome and sincere thanks for joining us today. I've got a few questions for you, and perhaps if we start with the questions and then we can chat about some of these topics. So my first question to you is, having grown the business that you took over, what tips would you give to others who are on this journey?
I think look at the business, make sure it's really what you want to do. I had previous experiences in my working life, so I used those and thought, no, this is something I can give a good stab at. There's plenty of change which had to happen. It's been in my dad's hands for 30 years, and I could see how things needed to be brought up to date in automation and employment, etc. And I engaged for that reason.
Okay. And it's interesting you mentioned that the prior career being helpful. Could you expand a bit on that? How do you feel that that's helped you in that journey?
It's a big decision to take on a business. When you're a director of a company and a shareholder, it's a sort of one-way gate. You've got to see things through to the end. And given that, if you've got experiences elsewhere in the market, you can then benchmark whether this is something that you really want to do and can make a success of. I would question a direction where you just were led into a business, especially like my own, which was family owned, because of the responsibilities of perhaps being, the heir or the son or the expected succession plan. It wasn't the case for me. I was previously an electrician. I ran a successful security business. I had lots of experience in working with other businesses. And when I looked at the family business, my father's business, it was something I wanted to go at for all the right reasons.
No, that's helpful. Did you feel in any way constrained with what went before, with the way that your father had run the business?
No, definitely. That's one reason I wanted to do it. It's only natural when, especially with family businesses where you've got an owner MD, they tend to do things their way. And, obviously with time, things become outdated and markets change. And I knew the business, I'd worked in the business, from a school leaver and on and off to help out. So it was something I knew, and I could see what needed to be done.
Yeah. And changing tact a bit, were there any, did you have any mentors or influences that really helped you on that growth journey when you took the business on from your father?
The first sort of business plan we put together, we got assistance from, then it was a government department, Business Link. And I applied for some funding to buy some new machinery, which would help with productivity. And they put forward one of their consultants, probably have to look after their stake in the grant I received, but also to mentor me. And, as a senior person who'd been and done it before, and I found that very valuable because I was able to, bench test my ideas and, have the support of him, and he could question me. And it was mentoring, not coaching. So he encouraged me, and questioned my decisions, but still allowed me to do what I wanted.
In terms of the other side of growth is very much how you've motivated people, how you've grown the business. What would you say about the culture that you tried to instill in the business?
You have to look at all aspects. So, I got down and dirty with the workforce. I knew the product. I knew the various processes because I'd worked on them. And when you embark on change, it's important to carry everyone with you. And the workforce in the factory were pivotal to that because obviously they were worried with change and especially with productivity that it might be a threat to their jobs. And, explaining that improving productivity would allow us to get new work. I very early on made a pledge, especially because at that time we're in a high unemployment area, that no one would lose their job, that they might be asked to retrain, but this would ensure the growth. So, their job was secure. Keeping them informed of what was happening, why it was happening, ensured they were behind the changes as well as, my own aspirations.
Okay. I mean, do you think you obviously, you've had your own business, you've obviously dealt with lots of other suppliers and customers. I mean, would you say that there is some businesses do suffer from the business as usual kind of mindset, that they're not quite so open to change?
I took the business over at quite a low point because we lost quite a few contracts because of changes in the market. No fault of the business itself, just more consolidation, which had established supplier agreements, which took work away. Yeah, but they sort of they didn't have a choice at the time. It was, well, we might as well give it a go type of approach. And what I put forward was sensible, in as much as we had to improve productivity to bring costs down to compete to get the work we'd lost back. So again, it's about information and making sure they have that information, so they're behind the changes.
Yeah, so it sounds from your perspective then that embracing change and innovation was very much key to how you grew the business to what you did grow it to.
I could see that it's all down to, in manufacturing, it's down to cost. And if labour takes a big part of that cost, improving productivity, helps that. But you can see the suspicions of bringing a new machinery which might have replaced jobs. It could have had a lot of resistance. But given, my explanation and my assurance, and again, the contracts that we started to win, it began to flow, and they trusted me. It's winning that trust.
Yeah, no, understood. I mean, just sort of looking at it a little bit higher up the employee chain, then, what sort of skills do you look for in a management team to help with that kind of process?
The management team at first was just me, and the first appointment I made was a competent operations director to carry on the initial changes I made. And I employed someone who'd had experience at that shop floor level, worked his way up. It was from the automotive sector. At the time, we had Nissan down the road, and he was Nissan trained, so he was up to date with all the new skills and motivation and productivity. So I was very fortunate, given where I was, and with Nissan being a big employer down the road, I suppose I was able to headhunt the right type of person and emulate some of their success.
Yeah, no, understood. And thinking back, when you sold your majority stake, what went well, and with the benefit of hindsight, what would you say to somebody looking at doing the same thing was the most difficult thing? I was outside my comfort zone, outside my remit of experience. I know the funeral sector very well. I know my own business very well. And considering a sale, I just didn't know where to start. I had some great advisors who pointed me in the right direction, and I had a lot of initial meetings. Some went nowhere. Some we took a bit further forward. But in hindsight, I wish I did more of a networking myself, because I felt I was being carried rather than always empowered with making the decisions at the time myself. I suppose that is difficult, though, isn't it? Because you obviously have very good contacts in the industry, but as it turned out, it wasn't a trade sale, was it? You ended up selling to private equity.
I did that, and I really had to find a buyer where my customers would be comfortable. If I sold to a competitor, for instance, I could lose a great deal of work because they'd made their choice to buy from Atkinson's, and if Atkinson had been sold to a competitor, you can see how it would have alienated some of my customers. So thinking about, not just what I want, but what my customers want is important.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, what as a sort of on the legal advisory side, what we tend to hear either during a transaction or afterwards from clients we've helped with an exit is just how exhausting they find the process of having to run the day job and then do the sale. I mean, how did you find it? Would you say that's a fair comment?
It is, but I would advise people to make sure they've got their management team to do the running of a business before they embarked on it. You can't concentrate on the sale of a business because the process is a long process in finding a buyer, and you've got to devote time to it. And if you take the eye off the ball on the business and that goes backwards, then you'll end up apologising, for the deteriorating business, which is not a good background for a sale. So make sure that you've got a management team which can run things successfully while you embark on this endeavour.
Yeah. What advice would you give to other owners who are looking to appoint professionals, whether corporate finance, lawyers or accountants to help with an exit? And I won't be offended.
No, my experience was great, that. And being honest, introductions helped because you are packaging up everything that you've worked for, and it's important that the people you appoint represent your interests, and they're fair about that. So you've got to look them in the eye and make sure you can get on with them, and that they become recommended from the right source, so things have got a better chance of running smoothly.
Yeah, I have heard that you end up spending more time with your advisors than your significant other at different points in the transaction. So that's probably a fair comment.
No, but it's probably not a bad thing at times.
Timing of an exit is often of crucial importance to extract the maximum value. How did you know that was the right time to go? Obviously you've been with that business for a long time, you grew it for a long time, but why particularly in the last sort of 12 months or 12 to 18 months now? What was the trigger that you decided that's it? I took this on to grow the business and to make the changes. And I suppose when my ideas started running out, I felt it might be time to sell because I didn't want to just run a business. I enjoyed growing it. I enjoyed increasing its market share. And when you're feeling that you've taken things as far as you can, then you have to look at yourself because, to allow fresh blood to come in and with fresh ideas and new ideas will continue the longevity of the business and at the end of the day, secure not only your position financially, but also, the jobs of the people that you've employed and entrusted to date. Yeah, that's an interesting point you make actually, because it's, I suppose, with a long growth journey like that, you've got those relationships with people. And I know you work very hard to make sure they were looked after in the sale. And so looking forward then, having obviously you're still involved in what's a highly successful business, and you're obviously looking for more pain by starting something new that you're going to have to build again. So is there anything that you can share with us now in terms of what your current plans are?
Well, package up all the things you got wrong and try to make the same mistakes. I've chosen to work in the same market because I know it inside out. I know the people who I get on with and maybe those who I don't. And take out the bits that you're good at and enjoy and see if you can get a new business opportunity which fits.
Very good. And is there anything that you may not be able to tell us now what you're doing, but have you got a new venture sort of in the wings?
I've always had an interest in the environment, and the company I've left behind was environmentally winning for all sorts of initiatives. And I've found a new eco-friendly cremation which actually uses water instead of fire. This lowers its impact on the environment with lower air emissions, low carbon footprint. And I'm looking to help seed that in the UK as an alternative form to disposition. We've just got the website up and running, which is Kindly Earth.
Okay, great. Thank you. And so finally, I obviously have an insight now as to where you've been. What might you have done had you not taken on the family business, do you think?
It would have been something which involved change. I like new challenges. I'm not very good at the same day-to-day routine, so it'd have to be something growing or something which I felt passionate about. I've always followed my passion in business, and luckily the two have fitted, but that's down to my choice as well.
Great. Julian, thanks ever so much for joining us, and thanks for your candor. That's been much appreciated. And everybody, please do join us for the next instalment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks so much.
Cheers.